Please like and subscribe to the Couch and the Rube YouTube channel. Also download podcast episodes wherever you get your podcasts. For sponsorship opportunities, email Jason at couchandtherube.com.
What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube, our Tuesday show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. And if you are a Michigan State fan today, it's a good day to wrap yourself in the warmth, the comfort, the quality, and just feel like your best self, because you may need it. A Muskox flannel could do that for you. Go to gomuskox.com, where you can use the promo code PEACOCK, so Couch and the Rube listeners get $15 off a flannel purchase. And if you're a Michigan fan, and welcome, because there are more than a few of you I know joining today, especially for today, and you want to feel your best self and feel even better, look even better, and you've not heard about the Muskox flannels, go to gomuskox.com. Check out the site. You'll love their offerings. You'll love the way it looks, the way it makes you feel. People will compliment you on it. If you have 3 chins, you can have 2, maybe even 1. If you have extra layering around the chest, it'll go away. That's what a Muskox flannel can do for you. GoMuskox.com. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I'm not talking about Michigan. I'm not talking about Michigan. I'm not talking about Michigan.
Instead of boo?
I'm not talking about Michigan.
No?
Cockburn.
No? Hey, what do you want? Did you put out another column, what Michigan State fans would do to erase this memory?
No, I fear what Dominic. I fear what Dominic would do to me if I actually did that.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. That's
Was that the
limit.
most read?
No, actually, it was. I mean, a lot of people were just disheartened, and it was actually reading the. Look, it was a fair column to do because it's exactly how most people feel today, based on the comments on this show. Right? It is. It was.
Yeah, like after the fact. But this was like in the Final Four. It was like, what would you give up for?
Well, it was a fun column, I thought. I don't know. Most people.
I would have given up something for a good basketball game last night.
Yeah.
Like, congrats, Michigan. I mean, that was an impressive team. Absolutely. But my God, that came with the refs and high knees. Hey, high knees. Your mom's a whore. That's what Paul Davis should have been at that game last night. Just all fired up on some sweetened iced teas. Because that guy sucks. College refs blow. That game stunk. But anyway.
It was not a great game. But it was an unbelievable look. Michigan's basketball team was unbelievable. And we knew it in November. And what's impressive, too, is that, they had the injury that can derail it. They had, and Yaxel, dealing with his knee and all that stuff. They were, they were worth
injury that didn't matter when you beat Arizona by 20. It's just unbelievable.
They're that good.
That game was more impressive to me than last night, I think. But yeah. But anyway, so tell us about Izzo and the big man he's about to get. Graham Couch, go ahead.
I think that sometimes, it's interesting. You think about
Let's pound some bushes.
Okay,
come on.
Well, the first thing, let's just talk about the game. Let's just talk about Michigan a little bit. And talk about it from what I think a lot of people are listening.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
The MSU fan perspective, because sometimes, things just kind of suck. If you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be some moment that says, okay, this means this for MSU. This means this long term. This means this. It's a hell of a season by Michigan. It's a hell of a job by Dusty May. Whatever you think of him. It's an incredible team that won a national title that you could argue is up there with some of the better national champions over the last 15 years or so. And all that's impressive. And if you're an MSU fan, that just stinks. There's no way around it. It is not some referendum necessarily on everything moving forward. It does say the bar has been raised in your backyard. What are you going to do about it? But it doesn't, it's not something, this doesn't lead, one does not correlate immediately to Izzo's washed, right? if Izzo wasn't washed a week ago, Izzo can't just be washed tomorrow because Michigan did something.
Who said that?
Well, I'm just saying there's the idea that what Michigan did last night changes Michigan State's equation. Michigan State needs to get a big man. Michigan State has a roster next year that would be the envy of most of college basketball in terms of returning players. There is one piece they need, and there are a lot of big men in the portal, and they've got to figure out which one they're going to get and they're going to go after, because more than one team will be after these guys. But they got to figure out who's the best fit for what they want, and they got to go out and get them. And that doesn't change because Michigan wins a national title. If you're a Michigan State fan, that can be hard to stomach the whole night. It can be unpleasant to deal with. The idea that Michigan is now the last team to win a national title. If you're talking about the last 15 years when Beeline raised the program and really has gone toe-to-toe with Izzo, and Michigan basketball has been toe-to-toe with Michigan State most of the time, Michigan now goes ahead. They just won a national championship, right? There's no. But
it has to light a fire, though, right?
But the fire should have been lit. Maybe it raises the bar. Maybe it says, all right, look where these guys are. But the fire should be there. This shouldn't light a fire. This should just be like, wow, those guys are good. That's who you got to be able to beat. But that's not even who you have to beat, because the other thing is, in this day and age, when college basketball rosters are year over year for so many places, and what Michigan State's trying to do is not something that's completely year over year. What Michigan basketball is today is not what Michigan basketball will be next year. Doesn't mean they'll stink. Doesn't mean they won't be a top 10 team. Doesn't mean they won't be one of the favorites. We'll see what they do, but they're going to lose an awful lot of guys, or at least some really key players, and we'll see how they replenish. He's got a good recruiting class coming in. I'm sure he'll recruit well the transfer portal, but it's hard to do what he did. It'll be hard to do even for him. The guy they played yesterday, Danny Hurley, is more of a hybrid of what May has done and what Izzo has been, right? He is a guy he's brought in transfers. He's had some 4-year guys. He's tried to bring in culture guys and add in the portal here and there, but key players in the portal. And so I think, if you're Izzo, you've seen it done successfully a way that you don't exactly want to build your program. That's fine. I think you can build your program the way you want to build it if you are willing and able to go get the 1 or 2 pieces every year you're missing and do it adequately. And I'll say this because, and I don't want to jump on, I've read Eric Schultz's first hot take we'll get to in a little bit. But,
steal it, make it yours.
No, but he was alarmed a little bit by what I said the other day. I thought it was 50-50 whether they'd actually go get the big man they needed at the quality they needed. And I am somebody who, like many of you, is a little bit untrusting of the staff being willing to do that just based on their history, because there have been other years where they needed to do that and didn't. I do believe the dynamics were different in other years for certain, like last year, I think, with the amount they were paying their returners, and I do believe it was tricky. I mean, it's not that they didn't try to get a shooting guard. They did. They tried to get a couple of guys who were headliners out there. But they were unwilling to go to a place, I think, financially that hurt the team dynamic. This year is different, right? We've talked about the reasons why, and Jeremy Fears is going to be the high-paid guy who everybody understands because of who he is to that team and program, and the position and need now is very clear, and it's just an easier thing to do if you're Izzo and to put your mind around not messing with your team culture. But now you got to go do it. And I have not entirely trusted that, and I understand the worry from a guy like Eric Schultz and a lot of fans. That said, since we had that last show, I mean, I have talked to people. I do believe more so than I did when I said that Michigan State staff has a clear understanding that they have to go get a guy. They know that. And the way that's been put to me is in different terms than it was in years where they didn't wind up getting a guy, where they wound up standing pat on a big man a few years ago, where it seemed like that was a necessary thing to do. There is a different understanding and a different have to go do it now sort of.
So you're saying
mindset.
You misspoke about the 50.
No. I'm saying I've just learned more since is what I'm saying. I didn't misspoke.
You decided to lie to us, which I appreciate. I wish you would lie. Yeah,
I did not.
We need more lying on the show.
Did not lie. I'm just
especially
more
after a day after Michigan wins the Natty. It's like
I am more assured that they'll go do that. It's just that again for me, it's it's a little bit of the show me thing because they have not done that in the transfer portal at this point. They've gotten some guys who are really intriguing. Caleb Glenn last year, really intriguing, got hurt. We'll see what he is, but he's a guy I think is going to be a big piece of a big player for them. They've had good transfers. Tyson Walker took a minute, was obviously a headliner by the time he was done. They've done it. They've gone out and gotten the pieces, and Tyson Walker is probably the best example of a reason to trust this team. That was a year and he didn't wind up being the point guard, but that was what he was brought in to do, and they clearly saw a need, went out and addressed it with him. I think they'll do it this year. Now, but what I'm still waiting to see is who they choose to go after, who they're able to get, and is that to the level they need? And again, the level they need probably is Carson Cooper-esque. That level of player. The player can rebound, defend ball screens, and
what if Xavier Booker
comes back? Well, you could sue for that too. That would be one way of
suing everybody.
Yeah,
let's sue some people today.
Yeah, it's interesting because Dusty May has become a lightning rod for a lot of people, and there are a lot of reasons for that. And some of it has to do with Izzo's dislike for him. Some of it has to do with or apparent dislike for him, I should say. Izzo's not on the record ever come out and said he dislikes Dusty May, but clearly there's some friction. There's been some friction. Let's just say that. That's a fair thing to say.
It's because of the quick handshake.
And some of it is because there's this sort of appearance, or not appearance, but really thought that there's tampering going on in how they build that roster, and that's become something that's in the discourse out there. And that was addressed a little bit by one of his assistants, and in a story, I think it was in The Athletic. I don't want to get that wrong, where he talked about the situation the situation at Purdue with Braden Smith, on how that was incorrect, and why it was incorrect is they couldn't even, in Michigan you can't bring in a junior or whatever, and they couldn't even bring him in if they wanted to. So why would but people just ran with that. Again, I'm not going to absolve them of any issues, but also the same thing I've said before is if any coach wants to put that label on somebody, they need to come out with their name behind it. They need to come out and say it. And coaches have to stop being such cowards to call out their colleagues when they are doing something that they think is unethical or negatively impacts.
Well, what do you think these coaches are worried about if they're not saying anything?
I think some coaches are worried about being called out on their own shit because glass houses. I think other coaches, it's just not something they've always done. I think it's just it's a good question. It's a good question. It's been going on for decades and decades and decades. There are coaches occasionally that'll do it, but it's just not something that's done in the industry.
So if you've tampered with a player, you think that you have, that's going to stop you from saying something. I just don't understand. If you see something glaring that's a problem, and a possibility to ruin your sport, and you just sit back and don't say it.
But like if you're Bill Self, you're not going to call out somebody on tampering, right?
Well, Jesus, no, that's the
right,
wrong guy.
Because right, you're not. If you're
that would be like me talking to you about money management.
Correct.
I have none of that.
Yes, right.
Or how to run a sports book. That'd be preposterous.
Yeah, if you've once recruited Anthony Davis to Kentucky, you're probably not going to call.
Calipari, sit that one out.
Yeah. You're probably not going to. So there's
Patino too.
There's a lot of that, and there are a lot of coaches. It's the Wild West out there. There are players going into the portal before the portal opens with "do not contact" next to their name, meaning they already know where they're going. Well, that should be impossible. You should automatically. I mean, the easiest thing for the NCAA to do would be to say, "Oh, you're ineligible. Wherever you go, you can't play." That would be easy because obviously, how can you know where you're going if the portal's not open and you couldn't have? But again, that's a side conversation because I do think if Dusty May was the person who replaced Tom Izzo, became Michigan State's next coach, that most Michigan State fans would be thrilled or get thrilled real quick.
It's a terrible example.
You don't think so?
Well, I know it's just a terrible example.
I mean, sometimes
what are you supposed to say? Like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Well,
that's a great point, Graham.
If Michigan State was having
is that a possibility?
The success if Michigan State had just won a national title.
Yeah.
Now, it may people may not feel as connected to that team as they would to this team, Michigan State team, if they won it, or teams of the past. And that is going to be a challenge, that connectivity to teams and whether things feel as good as they once did. I mean, you think about it. Back in the old days, you look at the way guys were recruited and just the in-state stuff. You'd know who the top 3-4 guys were who were Michigan Mr. Basketball candidates, and they were all going to major schools in Michigan. And if you got one of those guys that mattered, you knew them since high school. Then they came to college, and you hoped that. I mean, look at the Michigan and Michigan State teams of the 80s and 90s of how they were built and their best teams, right? You knew those guys since they were young teenagers, and you felt connected in that sense. And then they played at your school for, at the very minimum, 2 years, most of them 4 years, and you still feel connected to them for that reason. And so that's a better way about feeling connected. And so what college sports has going is got all sorts of issues that are separate from this, and like it may very well be a financial bubble that is going to burst, and 20 years from now, Michigan fans will be telling their children and grandchildren about this national championship, and their kids will be like, I don't even know what college sports are, because they don't exist anymore in that form. So it's great you had that moment, and it may just be this temporary
Dad.
thing. It may just
Boring.
be this temporary thing, but it also, I right now, for all the pain Michigan State fans are feeling, or all the frustration, or some motivation, whatever it might be. I mean, if you really step back and you said, if Dusty May was the replacement for Tom Izzo, having never coached at Michigan, I think that's important because that's brought all sorts of pent-up feelings. How would you feel? How would you feel if Dusty May was the replacement for
I'd feel like ass. I'd feel like quitting everything. I'd be like, fuck this. I'm not a Michigan State fan. If Dusty May's here, if you're going to come up with these dumb questions, I'm going to give you the answer that I want to give.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't give – what a terrible question. This is almost as bad as the column. Give my right testicle for Michigan not to win a natty or
if
something.
he had never coached at Michigan, if he'd gone from Florida Atlantic to Michigan State.
Hey, Dusty May.
You'd be excited.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Is that the answer you wanted?
Yeah.
You want to make this feel even worse today?
No, I didn't mean to do that.
And it's with Michigan State, it's not like you have to sit there and change the whole narrative or whatever about your program. But I think maybe we can up it a little bit, get a little elevated about the portal. Maybe take some chances, more risks is what I'm saying. You always think it's like we're asking to flip the whole script and just go after all these guys.
No, here's the thing.
Pay $90 million. No, it's just, but how about we just...
Nothing has changed. It's one guy this year. It's a center position. All these guys keep putting, like, there's a wing who goes into the portal. Everybody's like, Tom Izzo, call him. No,
why not?
Where's he going to play? Over Cullen
we got
Carr?
minutes.
Over Jordan? You don't have
Denim
minutes.
Wojcik's minutes are
You
free.
you don't have minutes. Right. No, those minutes have been taken by Carlos Medlock, okay? So you don't have sorry.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm verklempt.
Man, this Michigan win really hit you hard.
Yeah, sorry. You don't have minutes to give. And so that's
will you take an antihistamine? I have them in my bag.
I'm good. I feel great. I was a little under the weather.
Great.
A little under the weather over the weekend. I just haven't talked this much in that long. My wife don't want to listen to me, so we don't. It's been a while since I actually talked this much, and all of a sudden my throat's like, what's going on here? But anyway, Michigan State needs to get a center. That is all they need to get.
Let's go.
If nobody enters the portal. And nobody, to the point that we're doing this show, and by the way, we have a moratorium on the portal closes while we're recording the show between 2 and 4 p.m. on Tuesday. So the portal is not open.
Urinal or portal.
Anybody you see in the portal, that's not actually happening because that doesn't help us at all here. Michigan State needs to get a center. That didn't change. But Tom Izzo has also built a roster that only needs a center. And that should be something that is notable and
But
incredible.
what should change is upping the price for one and not worrying about hurting people's feelings about the money situation.
And in this case, in this year, you're not going to have to because the only guy who's got to make more than that center, maybe even doesn't, maybe you're right, the only guy you have to worry about in that scenario, to me, in my opinion, is Jeremy Fears. A year ago, though, you have to worry about it. A year ago, if you bring in the kid who went to Maryland at $1.3 million, and he's making more than all of your seniors. Now, maybe you just have to pay your seniors and juniors more, but that becomes an issue. That becomes something that I understand why he's not willing to do. I understand why the dynamics
Fears has
are hard.
the opportunity to do something that not many guys do, is to be a legend and put you up with legends that Michigan State and
100%.
get Izzo his second natty, especially after Michigan won theirs. And there's some things that money can't pay for. So I feel like that, we want to worry about that, and Fears can't take that, less money than this guy. Fuck that. We all have to be on the same page to get this second natty. Let's do it. Let's all talk together. Let's get on that private jet and get this big man. If he wants $4 million, fuck it. Let's give him $4 million. I want to see what that looks like and feels like. I'm in.
You also got to get the right guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But getting the right guy is going to take some money. And we can't sit there and worry about who's getting what, 100,000 this way or that way. Let's just all get on the same page.
It starts with this. You got to have the money and you got to have the evaluation. I think that there are more people trust that where Michigan State fans fear what Tom Izzo is thinking over time is that he doesn't think they need it. They don't think, and what I'm going to tell you today is I know they need to get a big man. And so, again, what I don't know is to what level of player, but I know, look, they've seen how much that can hold them back. They know what they potentially have next year. And they're just, you can't get to a point where there's, Izzo always, to put Izzo's own words in is my mouth. Or that means, yeah. I'll coach his team for a second, right up into my rectum, and it was painful. The coach's program for a second. He'll say at a certain point, you get to a point in the season, right, with freshmen, with a team, there are no more my bads. There are no more my bads. That's where it is with Tom Izzo right now. You can't have, it turns out you did need a 5. Didn't have enough there. Like, that doesn't work. Now, there's no real recourse for that because you're not going to get rid of Tom Izzo. You're still better off with Tom Izzo. But Tom Izzo has to understand right now there's no more my bads. Like, they have to get that guy because the rest of the roster deserves it. And he deserves it. He has built everything else that almost nobody else in college sports is able to do, which a roster that, there's some transfers, some holdovers, some guys who have, a lot of guys who've come up in the program and are at a place now where they have a chance to compete if they add that piece. And it would have been possible to do without adding a transfer? Yep. If Carson Cooper would have redshirted and you added a transfer 3 years ago. Absolutely. You didn't do it. Or, if you had recruited, John Blackwell a few years ago, and you had him this year. But then again, you might have not had Jace Richardson. Look, timing is hard to put it all together. The transfer portal allows you to fix it in ways you couldn't 5, 6, 7 years ago. And so now you don't have to have an incomplete team when somebody leaves early you don't expect or somebody transfers out because you can fix it. You don't have to apply for a waiver anymore. And I think they're well aware of it. They have put themselves in an unbelievably good spot. It just doesn't feel like it today because Michigan just won a national title, and Michigan folks are in all your mentions, and they're listening to this show right now, and they're waiting to hear people suffer as we read their takes. So
people are nuts. I'm not nuts. They're nuts.
Yeah. Do you have anything before we do the takes? Too, I want to do golf bets. We are going to do our Masters bets, which I think are important because this is a.
We doing those right now?
No, we'll do them before we do the listener takes. Do you have anything before we get to the listener takes?
I think I'm good.
Are you?
What else? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now that you sprung this on me, sorry, I'm trying to do some.
No. Do you want to take a quick break before we do the golf bets?
Yes.
Does that help? Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, golf bets, and then your takes on Michigan State, Michigan, and all that fun stuff. Couch in the Rube, our Tuesday show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com.
Please like and subscribe to the Couch in the Rube YouTube channel. Also, download podcast episodes wherever you get your podcasts. For sponsorship opportunities, email Jason at couchandtherube.com.
Couch in the Rube, our Tuesday show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. And when I walked outside today, had somewhere to be over at MSU football, by the way. We'll talk about that at some point, but this is not a day for spring football. It was 23 degrees. Didn't realize it because it's April, and it was sunny. But you know what? I had a Muskox flannel on, so I felt fine. Got in the car. Wheel was a little cold, but I felt great. I looked great. I walked in with confidence. Just had a good morning, asking questions, feeling like myself, walking around in 23-degree weather without a jacket. That's a Muskox flannel for you. Go to gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can use the promo code PEACOCK for $15 off their flannel purchases.
Peacock?
All right, let's dig into a tradition unlike any other. Jason's Masters picks. I have my own. I feel educated. I feel like I have some good ones, Jason's, that I can really contribute.
Okay.
So should we go back and forth here?
Yes.
And do it that way? Why don't you begin?
I'm going to start with the top 20.
Okay.
Because there's not much value in top 30s or 40s. So we're going to go top 20. And it's plus 839. And it's Akshay Bhatia and Harry Hall. Harry Hall is a debutante, and those guys aren't really good to win the tournament, but I think Harry Hall can easily, with his putter, can get a top 20. That's plus 839, top 20.
So somebody I'm looking at, and I'll probably take them a number of ways, but definitely to win, I'll probably take them top 5. But to win at 40-1 is Patrick Reed. Been in great form lately. He's great around greens, good in dry conditions, and it's supposed to be dry all week. I think that's important. This is not one of those tournaments where you can be just an average putter. This is not going to be that week. Drives it long enough. Good par 5 scoring average. So Patrick Reed for me is going to be probably my top play at 40-1.
That is quite interesting. It's like we almost planned this, because my next top 20 at plus 580, it starts with Patrick Reed.
Nice.
I didn't know the tip about how good he is on dry land. I wish I would have known that. I would maybe top 10 in that bad boy. And then Jacob Bridgman. He's hot. I think he's also a debutante. That doesn't worry me, though, because all you need is a top 20, and that's plus 580.
I like Xander Schauffele.
Yeah.
2-time major winner. Not somebody who's getting talked about a whole lot right now.
Oh, you don't listen to golf podcasts.
Well, apparently not. Yeah, you're looking at like 27-1.
Where'd you get that at? That's a good number.
Yeah, it is a good number. Check out the Firekeeper's Eye Casino and Sportsbook app.
I do.
You'll find that between.
Must have missed that one.
Yeah, I've seen it everywhere from 27-1 to 16-1. So look around for that one. Anyway, proven pedigree, and the Masters is a place where like being proven matters, right? He's shown he's back physically from an injury. You know, we'll see. He hasn't maybe performed quite to that level yet, but I don't know. I have a feeling this could be a good week for him.
Very nice. I don't know where you got that 27-1 though. That's nice. Outrights. Here's my outrights. I'm not going to give you each individual. We have to get to the show at some point here. Matt Fitzpatrick plus 2,600, 26-1. I like him there. Nikolai Højgaard playing really well. Going to be a long shot at 84-1, but I still like him. My boy Jake Knapp. This is a sprinkle just because I love JK. He's been playing well. He's got a bunch of top 10s. I don't know if this is his course to win it outright, but this is just a personal sprinkle for me. And Chris Gotterup at 35-1. He's also a debutante. And a debutante hasn't won since Fuzzy Zeller back in, 79? So it's not very good odds. But this is a bet I made a couple months ago after he, I think it was after like an Irish Open or something. And I was like, let me throw 20 on Gotterup. I like Gotterup. So 35-1.
I like Jason Day. He's like, I don't know. He's a proven major winner. Kind of been through it all, under the radar. Price is pretty big. I don't know. I'll probably take him in the top 10. And by the way, I did have my odds wrong. I was looking at after the first round. I do different things up.
Oh, first round leader?
First round leader. And that's where it was 27-1 for Schauffele. I apologize. And same, I was also wrong for Patrick Reed. It's not quite that value. But nonetheless, good value. And that's who I'm on as well. Like Jason Day, that is a 50-1 type deal. I don't know. I just think he's a value pick. Just kind of a outside the talk right now. Unlikely, but value pick at that price.
I love your Masters picks. They're the best. Are you done?
I got more.
Oh, okay.
You want me to give more?
Can I give you the worst bet?
Yes.
In the history of bets?
Uh-huh.
You know what an albatross is, correct?
Yeah.
That is 2 on a par 5. Answer me this. How many have there been in Masters history? Not in the past 20 years.
Just
in
ever.
the history of the Masters, an albatross on a par 5, which is a 2.
I don't know, 6? I don't know.
4.
Wow.
Louis Oosthuizen in 2012 had one.
Okay.
But you can go back as far as 1934 in the Masters. Guess what DraftKings offers it at?
What's that?
16-1.
That's a horrible price. It's like the worst price in the history of gambling.
I don't know if your guy at Panera, where you had your Super Bowl no touchdown bet, can get you maybe minus 190 on that. But I was looking at that. I go, fuck it. I had to look up at like an albatross, 16-1, because you try to find those. The Masters is kind of like the Super Bowl, where you try to find weird bets like that. And I'm like, wait a minute. How many have happened in Masters history? 16-1. Isn't that crazy? How can they look at people with a straight face with some of these apps?
That's a horrible.
Hey,
that's horrible.
I'm done. Yeah.
I got a couple others. I like Terrell Hatton, 70-1. Top 15 each of the last 2 years. He's out. He said he doesn't like the Masters, but that was earlier. This is his 10th time playing
He
it.
says it about every course he sucks at, though.
Yeah, right. But he's gotten a lot better. Like, he doesn't like it, but he's top 15 the last 2 years. I don't know. 70-1. That seems like not a bad play. Cam Young, like him, a little high on him. Don't like that he's taken.
Hasn't played in a while.
Yeah, it took 3 weeks off since the Players, but he wins the end of last year. Won the Players. Good on greens. Good iron play. I'll take a little Cam Young. And then the reason I had the first day one leader up there is there's a guy by the name of Marco Penji. I think it's
Marco
pronounced.
Penge, yeah.
Penge, yeah. I like him, and you're looking at around 60-1 or more with him, and this bounces all over the place. But anyway, he's too young, too green to actually. He doesn't have the belief yet, right, to win the thing. But
You can't putt.
long
Can't
and
chip
straight
either.
hitter, right? And he's been up there. If you look at like after the first day, he's playing all these tournaments for the first time, and after the first day, he's always near the top of the leaderboard. And so that's the sort of long shot day one. There's no way he could sustain it. This guy has zero chance of winning the Masters. But he's one of those guys that could have a day. And that's why it is a long shot.
So maybe a first round leader.
Yeah, that's what I put.
Something.
First round leader for him, yeah. Like
Yeah.
70-1. You're looking at 60-1.
All right.
Yeah, I don't hate.
Look at you knowing ball.
Yeah, I did some work. Did some research. It was
Called Kilbridge.
and a couple other things. Yeah, it was time. It was time. Hadn't done research on much, and figured it was time to actually do some work around here.
You and Norm crushing tape.
Yeah. That would be great. Just me and Norm sitting at the.
It is great. It is fun.
Yeah. No, I'm fired up for the Masters. I love that. There's gonna be zero weather concerns this week too. I just love that. It's gonna be 4 days of just golf. That's gonna be perfect. All right, are we ready to dig back into the
that's
misery?
right.
The misery. The misery.
Thought the show was over.
No.
It just ended it right there.
The misery of everybody's takes on on the situation with Michigan State, on other things, whatever they wanted. But there's a lot of MSU Michigan basketball coming up here. A fair amount of Michigan fans have chosen to chime in, which we always appreciate. This show is for everybody.
Well, let's get to Eric Schultz's question that Couch ruined. Number one, Couch saying there's a 50-50 chance MSU goes and gets a real big is the scariest thing I've heard in months. I almost drove off the road. Graham, what are you talking about? Why is it not 99-1? And don't give me this, well, there are complex dynamics crap. I don't care. Figure it out.
Yeah, it's a greater percentage of that today, in my opinion, just based on what I've heard since then. And I think they're very aware of what they need. And the question is, will they be able to execute it and get the type of player they need to, because this can't be a situation where a guy isn't able to give you heavy minutes. You have a freshman center coming in who may be more ready than, sometimes these guys are more ready than you think, but you can't count on that. Jesse McCullough may have a great summer. He was injured last summer. This may be a huge summer for him. And if he winds up taking a massive step and being way more ready for it, great. If you wind up with McCullough playing at a high level and he bumps this person out because he's at that high a level, so be it. But you need to bring somebody in who can be a starting five at a high level in the Big Ten and be an asset and not just a position you get by with. And I think they're aware of that. And look, the rest of the team deserves it. Tom Izzo, frankly, deserves it. The staff deserves it. They have put together something that's that close to having it happen, and so they needed to take care of business.
Dominic next. Number one, I am now certain that I was killed in a car accident in January of 2024, and I somehow got Epstein's boarding pass to hell. Football natty, my whoring ex, Trump Part 2, now this. My coach that I adore goes on Ebling sounding like Biden when asked about the portal. Rest in peace, me. 2, 4 and 8 MSU football is charging $150 extra if I want actual printed season tickets. Principally, considering walking on the tickets altogether. I can't even get a Portal 5 who doesn't play in the Sun Belt, but sure, let me pay $150 to use your printer. Kiss my fucking ass. And 3, Couch, I put my heart and soul into your show for 8 years. You screen horror today, and it's over.
We left it in for you, Dominic. Although we are going to work on different terminology. We talked about Lady of the Night. Maybe we pull something from Les Mis from the show song Lovely Ladies or something just a little less aggressive and frequent, I would say.
Whore. High knees.
Sort of Paul Davis did
Mom's a whore.
Paul Davis did not help us out in this sense.
It was the best.
Whore
is
that
not
word.
even a bad word. Whore. You can get away with that on national TV.
But if you're like driving right now with your kids in the car listening to this and we keep repeating that, it's like, what does that word mean? Now you got to explain it, It's not great. It's not great. And by the way,
with your kids,
don't
be a whore. It's a learning lesson, I feel.
To the ticket complaint from Dominic here. A lot of places are doing this. They don't want. It is an expense to mail out all these tickets, and so they can do it digitally a lot cheaper. And so they're trying to charge you much more than it costs. So if you want the convenience of it, you're going to have to pay for it. It's not great. It's not. I don't love it. But the Dodgers are getting in trouble because there's some 81-year-old fan with a flip phone who can't get into games, and there's all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah, but that guy's a burden, though. Can't he just get I understand you want to keep the flip phone thing, but they don't even service those much anymore. And can't we get Grandpa just a flat phone or whatever? Just the basics to where you can call him and he can go to a fucking Dodgers game. I just hate these old timers that are they want to just stay archaic.
But there are people who my mother does not like going to games without something that's tangible in her hands, like a printed thing. She does not like relying on the phone. It might, she might not be able to get. I understand. I've seen the panic in her when something's not working on her phone, and
so buy an old ticket stub on eBay and hand it to her, and then give her her phone and say, "Here, scan this up thing."
You're fine. If you're MSU, here's what you have to know: you can do this. You can do this if you're the Dodgers, MSU, all these places. But when my 76-year-old mother or anybody shows up and they can't get it to work on their phone and they don't know what's going on, you got to let them in anyway.
I'd almost rather just print the ticket. I'd eat the fee.
You got to let them in.
University.
There's no. It's on you. Yeah. You're asking people to do something that doesn't always work, and so it's on you. If something's not working on the e-ticket, you got to let them in anyway. There's no, and so maybe that's going to lead to chaos, but then you got to print the ticket. I'm just telling you right now, you have to let people in if they can't get the shit to work on their phone.
Kurt Wisniewski, this is a wake-up call, Jay. It's now time to do whatever it takes to win that natty. Tom, money, cheating, Norm spinning plates at halftime, etc. And from Spartan Johnny, if this doesn't take Izzo to the next NIL level, nothing will. And from Parks, seeing that team win in Indy and everything that goes with it, Izzo should have a 2,000 Cedar Village level couch fire lit under his ass to go get more talent ASAP. Please, Tommy, go green, go God.
Let's go green, go God.
Yeah, this shouldn't have anything to do with it. It really shouldn't. Now, I understand that's the mentality. Okay, let's get up tomorrow morning after something happened and work your ass off and different.
Get on that PJ.
That decision has to be made not based on something emotional, but that decision's already been made. Like this is, you can disagree with the tactics that Izzo has chosen to do, but there's never been a point, and I believe in him. I have disagreed with the decision not to bring in a center 3 years ago when Kohler and Cooper were freshmen. I have thought they probably should have done more a year ago. I was willing to sort of wait and see on that. And I understand the difficult dynamics. But I have never questioned the desire to get it right and put together a team that can compete for a national title and try to do it in a way that in the best way he knows how. And I don't think this lights a fire. I just don't think it has anything to do with it. I think the fire's been lit. The fire's been lit under Tom Izzo for a long, long time. That's how he built the program, by outworking people. And, now, and the fact that in his 70s, he's still recruiting on Friday nights and going all. Now, is it easier than now that he has private access to private planes and a little better travel and, he can do things? Yes, easier than it was 30 years ago. But I don't think the fire lit part is something you have to question. And I don't think this has anything to do with that. Now, it can be something that's an underlying motivating factor. And like, as I said off the top, down the road, somebody just set a new standard. Somebody just passed you and what they've done the last 15 years.
So it's the way you're saying like fire lit. You don't like that. Maybe like change the line of thinking, meaning like money-wise for certain guys, for a big.
If they lose to UConn, you're doing the same things. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Monday's results shouldn't matter. You need a big. You're this close to having a team that I think can compete with for a national title, and you need one thing. Most teams need like 7 people. You need one because you've done it the way you want to do it in so many other ways. Now just go complete the job.
Ryan Schultz next. Next season was already Final Four or bust. Now it's natty or bust. Anything less is an unacceptable failure. Graham's 2 favorite words.
I do hate those words. Unacceptable. Because here's the problem with those words, Ryan Schultz. Unacceptable. If you say unacceptable, it has to come with consequences. If something's unacceptable and then it's done, it has to come with consequences. So if you're saying unacceptable failure, then you're saying you're getting rid of Tom Izzo, which then means more than likely a return to something less relevant for Michigan State basketball. So there is no, you can say it would be wholly disappointing and dispiriting if they don't make a valiant attempt at this. But the other thing is there is also luck that goes together. Natty or bust is ridiculous because there have been years where they've had a chance at that, and everything has been set up for it, and it hasn't happened. You've had a torn Achilles, or you've had the Keith Appling situation, or other teams have had the same issue. So you can say they need to put themselves in a position, but winning a title takes some luck too. Now Michigan was the best team, and they were a great team, but they also I wouldn't say they had perfect luck. They had one injury of a rotation player late in the year. Then they had a guy who was injured in the Final Four, was still able to play and hobble through it and do a serviceable job. But things can go wrong. But I do agree that it would be, if they don't put themselves in a position to compete for it, it would be wholly disappointing considering everything else on the roster. But again, Monday night you can't let that get in your head. That's everybody talking about, you're seeing all these columns written about what Dusty's got going there. We'll see. I mean, he's got a good recruiting class coming in, but 18-year-olds struggle against 24-year-olds, right? And he's got to replace some guys. We'll see if they're this good next year. I think he's an unbelievable coach, but it's hard to do what he did, and it'll be hard to do what he did even for him.
C-Dubs 91, I guarantee however pissed MSU fans are tonight, it's nowhere near the anger Izzo has. If I trust anyone to bring MSU back to championship level, it's Tom Izzo. The program is moving in the right direction. Let the man work his magic. In bonus, college refs are still ass.
It was not the most fun. I mean, I don't think the refs made a great game of it. I got annoyed which game? It might even be the semifinal. I tweeted out about the 6 fouls. There's a moment where something always sets me off.
What was up with you on Easter, by the way? Why were you going after somebody on Twitter? I thought we talked about it with Baumgartner, and then I see you. I'm like, dude.
Well, somebody was coming after me.
So what?
Yeah, I know. No, it's
you're
ridiculous.
You're good at that, though. That's like your good quality, one of them.
Well, you remember how you said I sounded nasally or whatever? I was a little under the weather over Easter, so I was staying in a different room than my wife, not to get her sick. So I I had I had the Twitter machine in front of me, and eventually I just got up and got on the treadmill.
Yeah, I don't want to get sick. Get out of here.
Yeah.
It's a great bit Elizabeth has. Anyway, what does that have to do with you being holed up in a room? So you just want to pick chase people down that are coming at you?
I spend most of my Sundays avoiding. I try not to spend a lot of time on social media, and so I was annoyed at myself. Instead, on Easter Sunday, I'm sitting there, picking fights with JJH82G or something like that. Yeah.
C-Dubs. Oh, no, we read that. David Jackson, my only hot take is this pretty much sucks. And MSU needs to make use of our $500 million gift and our 2 NBA owners and step up to the plate. Spending as much as anyone or say, fuck it, we're above all that and become Maryland and Kansas State.
Well, Kansas State spends a lot, and Maryland has tried to in certain ways. But, yeah, no, it's you got to.
But they don't have a Hall of Fame coach. I feel like if you spend some money, too, boom.
Yeah. No, it's going to be very interesting to see the mechanisms that are there for spending in the future. And I mean, to be honest, it people like me in every market in the country next year, if there's suspicion that your roster in men's basketball costs more than say $5-6 million, which means it's definitely over the rev share component. If you're a school of football. We should be asking, like, well, how did that come together? Like, what are the NIL deals that sort of made that work? Because it's not that, look, we're all turning a blind eye to the rules are ridiculous and nobody's following whatever. You can say all that, but still, if you're a journalist and the idea is accountability, there should still at least be the question raised. Well, how is this money possible? If is it going through the proper channels? They should at least have to ask the question or answer the question, I should say. Because this year will be different than last. I think that's one thing that's getting lost a little bit last year. It was truly the Wild West with the collective still in play and the rev share. This year, a lot of places have gotten rid of their collectives entirely, including Michigan State. They do not use their collectives. And so that's, again, there's money funneling in other places because that's how this works, because nobody has enough, especially in men's basketball, which is not that big a revenue sport. It pays for itself in like women's basketball, and that's historically been about it, right?
Well, then start a car wash or a GoFundMe, and let's get this fucking thing done.
It's a niche sport that's on its way down, but otherwise there should be plenty of money.
Dan Grafe, watching this team win a title was great. The game sucked as it felt both teams kept missing layups, but loved watching them win. I sincerely hope the good MSU fans out there get to enjoy the same one day. College sports will keep changing until we have contracts for players.
Yeah, and we need to get there. We do need to understand the terms because I don't know if it'll save college sports because I think that connection is important. But in every other, in the level of play is not high enough for it just to be, hey, this is a great, the key is the love of alma mater, the love of the teams, and then the connection to the players. And that's what makes the whole thing go. But it gives it a shot because in every other sport, we understand the terms.
But even when we didn't, when, 80s, 90s, when there was tampering back then, we could get away with it with paying guys.
Yeah,
but people still love college. If there's a good product out there, I'm not worried about the game completely going away. I get the love for it and the passion for guys like me possibly, but I think it's still in a good spot as long as you have good quality. The NCAA tournament every year is quality. I mean, it was a good tournament.
Well, they're trying to screw that up by expanding it anyway and messing with the bracket. Yeah. So that they're going to screw the one thing they definitely
might do it that way.
Yeah, because the thing is, it doesn't. It worked in the old way was an oppressive system. It really was. It was. I mean, the idea that, and Chris Webber may have been exaggerating when he said he couldn't afford his jersey that Michigan was making money off of and all that stuff. But it was a ridiculous system. It was a ridiculous system for a long time. But it's the system we loved, and it's how we came to love college sports. It created the value that exists now. If the system we're putting in place now is what started in the 1970s, there would be no money now because none of us would give a rat's ass about any of these guys or any of these schools, right, and their teams. I don't believe this stuff would exist. So it exists. These guys are profiting off of an oppressive system that we loved. And I'm not saying that system was right. I'm not saying this isn't a comeuppance.
They got an education.
I didn't think major college sports should have existed 20 years ago. It probably shouldn't exist. I mean, that used to be. It was one of the things I used to talk about it occasionally. I begin every single column. Yeah, well, that's why my wife fell in love with me. First line all the time. I don't believe major college sports should exist. So again, you've reached this stage where you're trying to and correctly fix some things. And maybe this is just the comeuppance for what was a system that wasn't correct. But it may not be a system that we like enough or enjoy or feel connected to the players and schools, the things that made college sports great, that made us fall in love with it, that made us have the passion we still see, may not exist. And everybody says, well, the ratings are up, and that kind of bullshit. And okay.
Well, that bothers you.
It bothers the hell out of me because, yes, you and I are still watching. People may be saying, well, I'm less invested a little bit. But for the most part, our generation, they have hooked. A couple things. One, ratings being up has nothing to do with the finances. Colleges are still in bad shape with all this stuff, right? It doesn't translate to that. There isn't enough money to fund it all in a lot of ways. And so that's something to keep in mind. And then it's the next generation. I keep saying it. It's the kids who are in school now, if they don't feel as connected, if they don't fall in love with it to the point that they are coming back in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, that they become donors, that they're passionate, the whole thing goes away. And then you're just telling your grandkids about then it's horse racing or boxing. This is like Sunday silence. Everybody knows that horse or something like that's what the Michigan win will be yesterday. I mean, it's just not. This isn't. I don't think the way it is now sustainable because I don't think enough fan bases are able to live the dream or enjoy it. Enough fans feel as connected. I believe it's a bubble, and I believe it's in trouble. And the best thing that can happen is we get to contracts. And everybody knows the terms, and that at least gives it a chance. It will be something different. I don't know if we'll love it as much, but it gives it a chance, I think. Right now, what's happening now will not exist in 20 years. There will not be writers in Lansing and Detroit traveling with Michigan State in 20 years if this is what's happening. Because even right now, Michigan State fans can be frustrated they're not adding enough players in the portal, although they have most of the roster back. But if what's happening with the Michigan State women's program, which has lost a number of players, started happening to the men, I think more and more people will be like, oh, God, they really wouldn't want that. That would be such a turnoff. And Michigan State's not even one of the schools that's had their dreams killed, like the mid-majors and other places that just can't live it anymore. And those fan bases matter. Collectively, they matter in terms of total eyeballs and generationally and all that stuff. College sports is in big freaking trouble.
Frank Vashner next. Where do you put this Michigan team amongst 2009 UNC, 2012 Kentucky, 15 Duke, and 24 UConn? And bonus, the only reason I tuned into the game was to see if some dumbass in the stands would get kicked out for yelling, "Your wife is a whore," at high knees.
Paul Davis did not make the trip, apparently.
Should have sent him in there.
They're up there. I mean, I think they're in that class. I don't know that they're better. The thing that reminds me of some of those teams is, in hindsight, like none of those teams had great pros other than Anthony Davis at Kentucky, but Michael Kidd Gilchrist wasn't that good. UNC had some guys who had careers but weren't great. Like the great college teams that have pros but not great pros. And I look at this Michigan team, I think Merez Johnson is probably the best pro in terms of the guy who's going to be able to be switchable and have a really long career and is a starter, a really valuable player in the NBA. We'll see with some of the other guys. But you don't need that to be one of the great college. What you need is pros. You don't necessarily need the superstar. But yeah, I think they're in that class. 2009 UNC, 2012 Kentucky, 2015 Duke. Although that Wisconsin team Duke beat was right up there, and they're in that group.
Andrew Gauthier, cold take. Both teams in the national championship game relied heavily on transfer bigs to great success. Why not copy the winning formula? Rest of the lineup is already strong. Just reinforce your weakness. Maybe go grab Sherrills.
Yeah, no, I mean this, right? I mean you see the value of a great front line and what Michigan has there, and not just a great front line, but guys who are athletically switchable and defensively capable, cause problems. And yeah, I mean you want to have that. And Michigan State had a really good front line this last year, and a good enough front line if you've got other components that are great. But yeah, there's no doubt that is the answer. You gotta go get somebody.
Matt Boone, if Tom Izzo doesn't get a high-quality big man after seeing his rival win a championship, then I don't know what will convince him. We are one piece away, assuming no transfers. Tom, I believe in you get one transfer to make this team a championship team.
Yeah, and he's got it. I mean, I think I believe, based on what I've been told, the staff understands that. This isn't I think that's the thing that scares people, the idea that they don't see what's obvious. They see it.
It's Bartholomew. Hilarious to see Michigan fans continuing to pine for validation and respect from MSU fans, as if they didn't call us little brother for asking the same in football during the 2010s. Your team paid for a natty and had the number 2 portal class. Stop being weird and just enjoy your team.
That's what rivalries are, and this one is one of the more toxic that exists. And basketball, UMM fans are just waking up to the sport a little bit. It's not that there hasn't been a UMM basketball fan base. There is, but there's a difference between enjoying it and riding it and celebrating and marinating in it and really being the driver of success. And because a year ago they were still fighting for a Big Ten title and they didn't show up, right? We know that. So they're not really willing to drive a team that needs help. It's not an automatic special team. But when they're special, they're there, and they're going to flaunt it in your face like a lot of fan bases. But it's not a great basketball fan base. Never will be. It's a great football fan base. It's not a great basketball fan base, but it's like anybody. Florida won basketball titles. Their fans, I'm sure, loved it. You go down to a Florida basketball game. Michigan State played there a few years ago. Michigan State's at Florida, 2 revered programs. Yeah, the crowd was kind of meh. I mean, it is what it is. It's just that's not their thing.
Steve, this Michigan win solidifies Ward Manuel's culture of whatever it takes to just win and ensures his regime continues.
I don't think so. I think Ward Manuel, if they, a new president, if Ward Manuel's still the AD a year from now, I'm not promising a tattoo or anything like that, but that to me will tell me that there's some other problems at Michigan. What's happened under his watch, look, Dusty May, great hire. Unbelievable. He's done, other people can make that hire. And he's done some good things, but there's enough that Ward Manuel should not be the AD at Michigan.
Chris, Michigan writers spent too long claiming their team did it the right way to make up for falling short of Ohio State in the sport they care about, and now they have to do it even when they're winning. They got the number 1 transfer and managed to buy a title without an asterisk. Saying they did it with a bunch of leftovers is dumb and super baked take. No matter how bad my life gets, at least I know I won't be a Walmart fan celebrating their team's victory by listening to an opposing fan's podcast. The lowest of the low. What's up, losers?
Yeah, I mean,
if that's what you want to listen to.
Yeah, we welcome Michigan fans here. Don't listen to Chris on our part. I'm telling you right now, and if you have not heard, if you're brand new to this show today. And you're, even if you are just somebody who's a little insecure about yourself listening to this podcast, you want to feel more secure about yourself, do it with a Muskox flannel. Go muskox.com. You'll love the selection they have there. I personally, my favorite are the blues, the ones that have any sort of blue in them, make my eyes pop, make me look 10 pounds lighter, 3 less chins, and you just feel comfortable. It's quality, unlike the flannel you're going to get anywhere else. Go to gomuskox.com. And Peacock for $15 off your flannel purchase. Chris is referencing here, though, is the idea that they brought in a bunch of leftovers. This was John U. Bacon's worst take in a while. He just talked about how I quote tweeted the tweet, but he called the narrative that they brought in a bunch. They bought a team kind of lazy and all this, and said he won with a bunch of leftovers. This was not leftovers. Like these were NBA guys. Tom Izzo's love for Merez Johnson when he was at Illinois, he called him like a better offensive version of Antonio Smith, was his favorite player in Illinois. Ade Mara, you could see it at UCLA. And obviously Yaxel was a guy who's had NBA pedigree. Like, come on. Like they took a chance at the point guard, certainly, with Cadeau, and that worked out pretty well. But everywhere else, and granted, these were calculated good gets, but these guys were rising guys who it made a lot of sense to bring in. I don't. That's kind of crap. That you just don't need that if you're John U. Bacon. You just wrote a great book about the Edmund Fitzgerald. Revel in it. Don't make the dumb comment that then makes you look like some slappy that can't be trusted on your takes.
Great book. TK, here's a take. Sports are ass. What a waste of time. I should have moved to New Zealand when I had the chance.
The Kiwis have sports, though.
Yeah, but you can get into those sports. But then what if you end up hating what do they do there? Rugby or
Aussie rules football? They play a little soccer. I don't know what they have. Yeah, it's
so then you'd start watching those. And
you'd still have your heart broken either way.
You can watch golf over there. But yeah. Professor, I'll never look at April and the D the same way. Too much misery. And bonus, Easter dinner staples are better than Thanksgiving. Ham over turkey and cheesy potatoes over yams.
So I like ham over turkey, but I prefer the sides to Thanksgiving over the sides for Easter. You?
So I don't really do either one. Like I don't know. So it doesn't bother me. I don't have any of that shit. So like on Thanksgiving or on Easter. So
what do you have on Thanksgiving?
We make manicotti or some sort of Italian dish.
Yeah.
We make kind of whatever we are in the mood for.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So if it were, ham, then we would make a ham, but it isn't like we go in these staples. I just have never understood that.
Yeah.
But again, I grew up with terrible cooks in my family, so they ruined it for me. Aaron Lunecki next. I think I know why everyone hates Dusty. He zips his quarter zip all the way up. Insert live read here. As far as the tampering allegations, until there's actual proof and not just Twitter fans being mad, I'll just tip my cap and move on. And Masters picks. Has everyone forgotten about Cam Young? He's my pick. Also, have plays on Abear and Fitz, and because I'm a complete sociopath, Spieth. Psychopath. The curse at 12 was broken on Saturday. He's freed at last. I mean, good luck with Spieth. I can't do it.
Yeah. Cam Young I like. That's a pick that I like quite a bit. But yeah. Yeah, I don't.
But his odds, I mean, really, it wasn't much value in picking him, and then he takes 3 weeks off. It's like, yeah, like he's still going to be one of the more bet golfers.
That's the thing. It's where's the value, right?
Yeah.
That's the
It's tough to get because guys are betting the Masters like months in advance sometimes too. But Polish Sparty's morning crew. Number one, if Jace Richardson was a slightly worse draft prospect, closer to Yaxel, he would have stayed. And two, if Trey Holloman knew what he knows now, he would have stayed. And three, if MSU had Jace and Trey, it's hard to imagine this year's Spartans wouldn't have been every bit as good as Michigan. Alas.
They would have had a shot. There's no doubt about it. And that's sometimes the timing of it. It's so hard to do this. And it used to be really hard because there was nothing you could do about it, right? Ultimately, if somebody left, the next year's team was just a little less. Like in 2014-15, that team wound up getting to a Final Four for Michigan State. But they were a bubble team a lot of the year. And even going into the year, I remember Izzo saying specifically, this is going to be a different kind of season. Like they had lost a lot off that previous team. They had a great class coming in the following year, but you were just going to have this year where they were going to just have to make sure they got in the tournament. And everybody sort of accepted it. You know, in 2006, 607, Drew Neitzel's sort of breakout year, it was one of those things where it was like, you know, when they beat number one Wisconsin was a huge deal. But that was a different kind of year. You just you accepted it. And the program was a solid enough place, and you couldn't always rebuild. The next year after that, they were bringing in a great class. These days, you're missing one piece, go get that piece. And next year, that's what they're missing right now is one piece.
Seth and Lansing next. As a Michigan fan that attended his first game at Chrysler in 1985 with Gary Trent, Roy Tarpley, and a babyface Glenn Rice, Michigan as a program has seen tons of highs over the years. The gap between Steve Fisher and John Beilein essentially killed the program for 12 years. To Izzo's credit, he took full advantage. But these programs have been even for about 15 years until last night. Michigan is now positioned to be the dominant program in the Big Ten for the foreseeable future. And state fans can call us mercenaries, but the reality is if Izzo doesn't change his philosophy somewhat, Dusty May will send him into retirement the way Harbaugh did to D'Antonio. I appreciate what you guys do. Thanks for including a few Wolverines into your show.
Appreciate you, Seth. Well, a couple of things.
Not talking about Michigan.
Harbaugh didn't do anything to D'Antonio. Harbaugh was borderline getting fired in 2020. They
restructured his contract.
Yeah. Harbaugh. I think the timeline's a little there off. Now, did D'Antonio lose steam? 100%. But I don't think that had anything to do with Harbaugh. He was still winning that rivalry a fair bit. Won it in 2017, and so it was competitive in 18. But to your point, and I think you're right, and he had more to this, but that was enough for Jason to read there. It was partly about why the fan base has gone up and down, right? Because there's been these gaps and everything. It's not a basketball school. I mean, it's doesn't mean you're not great at basketball, but what I mean by that is like that's not what stirs the drink, so like for example, in July, when you're a month and a half from football, if there's a basketball recruit, that doesn't stir the soul. At Michigan State, it stirs the soul somewhat. At Indiana, it stirs Indiana now, who knows? They've gone full football for obvious reasons. But whether this is going to be for the foreseeable future. Is Michigan positioned to be the dominant program in the Big Ten? We'll see. They have a great coach. He did something that's very hard to do. He put together a dominant roster, and though he has great resources, he did something that Kentucky failed to do. They didn't, have enough at point guard when they had an injury there. Illinois has had trouble doing it, although did it pretty well this year. I just think that, excuse me, the jury's out. We'll see. And you're right that Izzo has to make sure he fills his roster where he has holes. But to this point, he's also done an incredible job of doing what almost nobody else has done in college basketball, and that's retain sort of an old school culture and the culture he wants to be on the precipice of that.
John Johnson, now what? Michigan has legitimately passed MSU in the past 15 years. Spare me the streak. Reminds me of when the Red Wings were clutching onto their 25-year streak just for the sake of the streak with no real shot at the cup. Unfortunately, the Mr. March with May's last name written right themselves. And bonus, if Michigan wins in hockey, I don't know if I can continue on.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that, John. Just continue on. Whatever happens, continue on. The streak is incredible. It does. It's a level of consistency, and I get the Red Wings thing has come up a little bit. I think it's just different. I think what they've done, just nobody else has done it actively, right? I mean, it's up there. It's one of the things. I disagree on the streak. I think it says at your floor, your worst times, you are still in this tournament, and you can argue about the COVID year whether they really belonged in, and there's been a couple other years where it's been dicey. But at your worst, you're at least in the dance, and that's something most people don't have. Doesn't mean they wouldn't trade places to have another national championship. UConn's a great example of this. Like, you'd rather be UConn with like 6 or 7 missed NCAA tournaments entirely. And have more national championships, but it's still an incredible streak.
The Nerese Campbell of Southern Maine next. Number 1, emotionally hedging bets is helping my mental health. The only bets I win seem to be on Michigan. And 2, I'm crushing so much tape on Atlantic Sun and Big South transfer big men. So pumped to have a Sweet 16 ceiling again this year.
Yeah. I don't know that that's what's going to happen. If you're thinking of it that way, you might as well just not watch. But I don't know what to do.
Sparty Barb relaxing take. Best way to get away from the hype and hysteria of college hoops. Take a vacation to France, where the citizens only care about soccer and the NBA. Bonjour from Lyon.
Lyon.
Huh?
Lyon.
Oh, Lyon.
Yeah.
Isn't there a lion in Michigan?
Yes, there's a Lions, South Lions. Yes, it's spelled the same way. You're right. Lions. Yeah, right.
My bad.
Yeah.
Not familiar with the French one. Where the weather, food, and wine is fantastic.
France does sound nice right about now.
Does it?
I would love to go to France again. It's they care about more than soccer. They care about cycling. But yeah, soccer over there is golf. There's a lot of good things in France. I watch a lot of French league soccer. It's one of my subscriptions.
Noted. The OG Martin, the Spartan. Couch, I know that you say you lost your MSU fandom and feign as much for journalistic integrity, but tell me that you don't truly despise the scum fan base, the traits of those arrogant asses and low-life Walmart Wolverines, just like the rest of the civilized sports world. Heck, they are so obnoxious and clueless, I bet the majority even snub their noses at muskox flannels and groovy donuts. Appreciate you both.
That would be a bridge too far. That's when you know you're not human and you don't have taste. And I just don't believe that. I believe that's what brings us all together is a love for muskox flannels and groovy donuts. Don't get me wrong. I think there are some real obnoxious tools out there. But that's in every fan base. There are some in the MSU fan base that are not always pleasant. Oh. And there are maybe even occasional tool who finds their way onto this show.
Or that host it.
Or that host the show.
Yeah.
That too.
Tools everywhere.
Yeah.
That's the new name of the podcast. Tools everywhere. Sunshine Spartan, number 1, following up on my daughter going to Central Michigan. We lived in Michigan until she was in 2nd grade and has this delusional vision of Michigan. And 2, it's going to be miserable for the next year now that Michigan has won. The best reason to live in Florida, you don't have to see Walmart Wolverine.
Yeah, if you're out of state, you do avoid some of that. The delusional vision of Michigan. Michigan is the place. I mean, there's no delusion. I mean,
there's good weather 6 months out of the year here.
But it's
and
still
it's really beautiful. Yeah, but I mean, I can understand, but like the rest is ass. I mean,
no,
the winter here is ass.
Not entirely.
Yes,
Still
entire ass.
It's cozy.
Yeah, but you like that stuff.
I do.
You like to bundle up. Not everybody does. People like to be outside and stuff. You like gray weather.
I'm a Muskox man.
I get it. Moneybag. This might just be coping, but seeing Michigan win that way doesn't hurt as bad as it would have 8 years ago when teams had to be recruited and developed. I've hated this new era of college sports for years, and if they want to win that way, so be it. It's just another log on the fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody feels their own different way if you're a Michigan State fan, and if you're a Michigan fan too. I mean, you have to be honest. Do you feel the way you would have? Do you feel the way you did when Glenn Rice and Sean Higgins and Terry Mills and Ramil Robinson won in '89? Right? Do you feel the same way?
That was fucking 40 years ago. I can't tell you what I was feeling.
38 years,
10 years old.
Yeah. I don't really know where to go with this, but yeah, no, I understand that a lot of people don't feel as connected or don't feel as emotional about the sport and don't want it to be won that way. And but it is, and we'll see if the sport can survive being that.
Travis Maynard not even upset about Michigan winning. Heck, they didn't even seem that happy about it. Why? Because there's no sweat equity, no struggle, no story, just an unrecognizable all-star team of 4-month mercenaries. And bonus, Dusty May announcing post-game that this win was for all the former Michigan players is hilarious, considering not a single starter is a Michigan player.
You are going to lose that history and connection. Now, I don't think Michigan people feel that way right now. They're giddy and happy, and they won, and so does it – I don't know. Does it resonate differently? Like, can you put yourself, if you're a Michigan State fan, in the shoes of this and you win a national title? Would it feel like less?
No.
I don't know that it would. I don't know. Maybe it would.
Sick.
Yeah.
And I'd be celebrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay Riemenschneider. A lot of talk of MSU being the team to beat next year, not just in the Big Ten, but the whole country. Could be, but Underwood has Illinois in a good spot. Dusty May definitely ain't falling off with his coaching ability and high school and portal recruiting. Painter is still great, and that's just in the Big Ten. And bonus, I don't care about the Mercenaries label, don't care about Connor Stallions, but I enjoyed that win much more than the Michigan football title. But being older sucks because I still wasn't as excited as I would have been years ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is when you're a kid, you win a title.
What do you mean, dude? What's years ago?
Well, like if the Lions never won Super Bowl, so they don't have anything to compare.
It's going to be
yeah. But the way you felt,
cocaine and everything.
The way
Lions win a Super Bowl.
That's a good point. That's a bad example.
Fuck, if I'm 70,
yeah,
we're doing cocaine.
That's a good point.
Kevin from Rochester Hills, UConn got robbed in bonus. Michigan would have been an average Big Ten team without NIL.
Well, everything would be different without NIL. I mean, a lot of people would have left, and there'd be a lot of people leaving for the pros early, right? Because the big thing that NIL has done is it is, it's done a lot, but one of the things it's done is prevent players from leaving for the NBA before they should, because there's more money coming back to college than being a second round or marginal draft pick. So the level of play has gone up in that sense, and but the whole thing would be different. Michigan State's roster would be different. Most rosters would be different.
K-Mark next. Number one, I only watched the first half Monday night, but some of those foul calls, oof, looked like an agenda from Jeffrey Heine's Anderson and crew. Needed Twisted Tea Paul Davis in the crowd, and at the half, Michigan fans booing the refs because they only had an 11-5 foul advantage, really wanted 12. And two, I might be crazy, but I am looking forward to Spartan basketball, hockey, and maybe even football next season. Michigan Athletics clearly sold their soul to the devil. The proof is coming. I expect an expose by Woj and album soon.
What's your definition of soon? But I don't know if that's coming. But look, you should look forward. I mean, if you're a true fan, this stuff, you can't control your excitement. You can't choose to check out entirely. It's hard to do. Because, again, you don't choose fandom, it chooses you. If you choose fandom, it's not actually fandom, right? And that's the whole point of it.
And what else is there to do?
It's a good point. Life's pretty shallow otherwise.
It really is. Sports get us through it. G.E. Miller, number one, as a lifelong Spartan, I'm getting incredibly tired of the excuses and ego. Win titles, not moral purity tests. If Tang and Ugo aren't good enough, get Blackwell in the portal. Get a top tier 5. Spend the money on the right guys and don't apologize for it. We've been passed in our state. And two, if Jace had stayed, if Trey had stayed, if, is In this era, more than any other, you can make your own fate. Jace would have taken less than Yaxel to play one more year here. Trey definitely would have. Make it happen. You don't get bonus points for lowest payroll.
Yeah, I don't think Izzo's turning down money to turn. I mean, I do know it's interesting. You get conflicting reports in the sense that I do know there are donors out there who want to give and at the highest level, but this is Michigan State is not at the very highest level of payroll. They haven't been. That's part of the reason for Spartan Ventures is to get themselves in a position where they can pay what's necessary. But this will be a big test this year. Because if they have the will to do something and are unable to do it, that will be really telling.
Ing in Birmingham next. I do not care about college sports anymore. Signed member of several college sports message boards. Read every one of Graham's columns. Read everything in the Free Press and Detroit News sports sections. One of the 20 million people who watched Michigan's title game and writing into a sports podcast on a Tuesday morning. Go Green, go God. Let's get Izzo another one.
Well, then you do care about sports.
Let's go Green, go God.
I appreciate you, Ing. I think it's just hard. It's easy today, and it's good to touch grass and get away from it. I do hate that phrase, touch grass. But I started to say it. It's sort of like cope. I hate the word cope. I think we need to get out of when somebody goes.
I hate
on,
your phlegmy throat. It's
sorry.
really gross. Like I can't imagine if you have your earbuds in. I'm sorry to the listeners.
Yeah, I apologize. It's better now.
It's like,
well, what do you want me to do? Just not do a show?
Yeah, I know. Maybe take something for it, but Mucinex or.
I feel 100%. I feel
Lung.
This is the first day I felt 100% since the last time we did a show.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad. You sound terrible though.
You're welcome.
Bob in Fort Myers. In an era where pro-bound mercenaries quit on their team and sit out, examples. Kansas guard Darren Peterson at Kansas. Cornerback Will Johnson at Michigan 2 seasons ago. A healthy K9 didn't play in our Peach Bowl in 2021. Yaxel, a 23-year-old multimillionaire lottery pick. Dusty May coached those kids up to love their university and teammates to the point an injured lottery pick wanted to be out there and play his heart out for the Laundry. Truly a hell of a coaching job.
It was. And it was a team that, look, whether it's sustainable culture or not, for 1 year, I mean, that team, they got a lot out of they had a lot of talent, but they got a lot out of it. And they were great in November, had some hiccups here and there. I think there was something to get to see them 2 or 3 times. It became easier to figure them out, but like it is with anybody. But, they pounded Arizona. They beat UConn. I don't know what would have happened against Duke, but Duke didn't get there. You have to tip your cap at this point. And I understand that you cannot love the way it was built, but it was built by everything that's on the record. It was built by the rules that you're allowed to use now. And it was a lot of teams have tried to do what they did, a lot of teams at the top, and have failed to do so to the level they did it.
Janet in Plymouth. Number 1, if you've worshipped Kenneth Walker III for the last 5 years, you can't whine about Michigan's portal usage and how transfers have ruined college sports. And 2, you can be a Michigan State graduate and also be happy for a team from the state of Michigan. And 3, Dusty May is everything we hope Izzo's successor is. May is exactly the sort of coach we'd love in East Lansing.
She's not wrong there in a lot of ways. I mean, you're hoping you get somebody who's hungry, young, and innovative, and is just at the top of their game when they show up and ready to go. And that's what you want. And his personality may grind you, and I think a lot of it grinds you because he's the coach at Michigan. And that, like, if you think about people who have punchable faces, and we've talked about this a fair bit.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with who they represent, right? If it's somebody, now sometimes it's somebody who's a coach or manager of your own team, and that's truly a punchable face because you want them to succeed. But it's very easy to have a punchable,
stupid-looking face.
It's very easy to have a stupid-looking face or a punchable face if you're on the opponent because you stare at them.
Or a politician.
You learn to resent them. Correct.
Like Perry Johnson. Punchable face, that guy. Can that guy get the fuck off my TV, by the way? Anyway, Adam. Jason is right, Graham. You should have a teardrop face tattoo to commemorate the rabbit and the gay guy. Maybe get a groovy donut tattooed on your other cheek. Or a full body tat of a muskox flannel so it looks like you're always wearing one.
But you can just wear one. You lose the effect of a muskox flannel if it's just tattooed on you.
You don't have to answer that seriously.
It's a good point.
We know. Peasy.
Thank you, Adam.
Izzo has to know he's a bona fide big man away from cutting the nets down in Detroit next year. Whether he acts on it is another question. And bonus, McKinney was massive for Michigan down the stretch. That feels like a big miss in recruiting.
Yeah, he was good. He was a really good freshman for them, and that's what you need freshmen to be. You need them to. You don't want to ever rely too heavily on them, but if you have really good parts around and they're able to plug holes is too small. But if they're able to play a role, and if they're not the focus of defenses, a lot of times you can still find freshmen who can play a pretty elevated role. And yeah, he was those guys from Michigan who you don't get. Those are misses, and that's a guy that the Michigan State recruited, and then there's no doubt about it.
Jarrett next. Michigan State men's basketball team will start top 3 in the AP poll next year.
It's possible. It'll be interesting to see how that works. Again, it will not matter because the AP poll is full of fools who don't put enough time in. And I don't mean that. They're not fools, but their ballots are foolish. They're just not. They just don't take it seriously enough, and they don't put enough time into it. And they may say they do, but to do it, again, we've said it before, to do the AP poll right, you cannot have a happy marriage. You cannot have children. You cannot have other hobbies. It just takes too much time. And so I doubt it will be correct, whatever it is.
Trey Rice next. Michigan's run across multiple coaches is more impressive than Izzo's entire tenure. Final Four record, national title appearances, and now a title to match his greatest accomplishment. The streak is irrelevant. For every run they overachieved, there is a loss to a mid-10 Middle Tennessee State and George Mason. And bonus, Graham, when you say the little guy will stop watching, are you referring to MSU?
So Trey is a Michigan fan troll. He likes to get in your head. Just be aware of that. But we respect Trey. We everybody's welcome here. I'm not saying a place like MSU couldn't be turned off by this, but no, I'm talking about the Southern Illinois of the world, the South Dakotas, the Santa Claras, the places, the fan bases at the mid-majors that you just can't build anything anymore year over year, and that's, they add up to a lot, right? It's, you talk about all the Division I schools, like 300 of them aren't in the Power 4 conferences, so that's a lot of schools that don't have hope anymore. And then, to your point though, you always put down the Final Four appearance. There have been a few, times they've slipped up. And if you look at the Ken Palm data on the George Mason loss or the Nevada loss in 2004, 2006, like those were not very good Michigan State teams defensively. Those really weren't upsets when you start to look at it. Middle Tennessee State's one of the more crushing losses in MSU history. There's no doubt about it. It's up there with Weber State and a few others. There have been moments where but Izzo remains, one of the great stories in college sports. He is a guy who took over a middling program and raised it to levels that very few ever do, and over a length of period of time. And to act like, to try and diminish his accomplishments makes you an unserious person.
Original Dark Mantonio. Michigan had a top 10 high school recruiting team before this past weekend. Now it's top 5 and ahead of the recruiting class that MSU has touted for months. Dusty's not portal only these first 2 years. It was a necessity. But his evaluations and development will keep him near the top for a while. And bonus, Danny Hurley versus Dusty May is going to be the new top rivalry in college basketball. Both great programs with 2 youngish top-notch coaches that are hated by lots of people for different reasons, but seem to respect each other.
Yeah, we'll see. I could see both those guys in the NBA in a couple of years too. Danny Hurley is, I don't think he leaves for another college, but they're both really young. Like, do those guys want to do it at their schools? Are they lifers? Are they still there for 10 years? I don't know. Maybe. But I could also very likely see them wanting a challenge that was different at some point. Dusty May's already won a national title in year 2. He's not tied to Michigan the way like Izzo was Michigan State, and Izzo almost left right after the national championship to go to the Hawks. And Dusty May will have opportunities. Hurley will have more opportunities. So, we'll see how long those two. But you're talking about 2 great coaches at the top of their game. So as long as they're around, those programs are likely to be factors.
JR from Kalamazoo next. The blue wall is a fact of life, and we have the clearest example of it in the Detroit papers this morning. What have in the past have been described as destructive riots in East Lansing after major sporting events are now predictable actions and has to be celebrated when they happen in Ann Arbor. 40 fires, couches burned, street signs destroyed, an ATM being passed around by a crowd, all excused by Detroit media. Here's my favorite excerpt. The chaos was predictable. Setting furniture ablaze has become the norm in the college sports world. It was a similar scene of wild joy in Ann Arbor after Michigan's football team toppled Washington to win the national championship in 23.
Now, I do understand why people get frustrated about this, because when it happens at MSU, there's a sharper tone to the behavior, no doubt, and maybe there is some at certain places in Ann Arbor. But yeah, I'm not gonna look. I am willing to admit a blue curtain. I think there are certain personalities that are very much have Michigan biases, that have big platforms, but I don't believe it's some conspiracy level thing going out there. But there also is evidence that supports what you're saying, JR.
Aiden's child next. Robin Freilic's program is at a crossroads given the numbers of transfer portal entries on top of the graduation losses. The direction it heads will be determined largely by whether or not Lily Williams is the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, they lost Rashunda Jones today, left. And so they're, it's there's a, losing Sotelo, I think, hurts. It's going to be there's some people I thought were coming back. And so that's, it'll be interesting to see where they go, because those are two major pieces to what they did. And I thought if they could have got Blair back with Theron Halleck, and then also Jones, like all of a sudden you have a really good trio at guard, and not having that anymore. I mean, they still have a chance to be really good, but to take that next step, they're going to have to do some things in the portal.
Ryan speaks. Number one, I don't think it decided the championship, but the refs seemed to give Michigan most of the 50-50 calls in that game. And two, 19-year-olds can't win championships anymore. You need men. Let's aim for 2 $5 million big men in the portal in case one doesn't work out. Everything should be done to maximize talent in the die-trying era.
2 $5 million big men. I mean, like, again, I'm not going to tell fans to donate, but you're asking a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money. $5 million for two. So
not for that second natty.
$10 million. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Pull it back when Izzo's gone.
I'm going to tell you right now, I do not think, as much will as there is, as much want for Izzo's second national title, that there is the money for $10 million in addition to what it's going to cost for Fears and all these guys. I don't think it's there. I do not think it's there.
Scott, why not open the portal after the spring semester is over, say the first Monday in May, and close the portal after the NBA Combine? Coaching cycle musical chairs would pretty much be over. Also, lots of guys would have had a good sense of if they are going to withdraw from the NBA draft.
Yeah, I mean, there are better ways to do it. This year is better than last year. Like, having it open up before the Final Four last year was a disaster. This year is, at least, this last week wasn't quite the circus. You could wait, I guess. I don't know. I could be talked into later. The problem is kids need to know where they're going. And the coaching cycle, letting that play out first would probably be helpful if you could wait another 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know.
Ben Chulik, in a normal situation, I wouldn't care that Michigan won last night. What bothers me is them enjoying the ultimate success despite scandal after scandal after scandal. I know the majority of that centers around football, but the fact that their AD gets to celebrate this makes me sick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say there. I mean, I understand the way you feel. You feel like a lot of people do, and there's a lot of reasons to think Ward Manuel shouldn't be the AD there. And I'm surprised I'm not surprised he still is. I think when you have a new president who's had time to assess things, I think they will do it so he can save face. But I do not think Ward Manuel is the AD a year from now. I will be surprised if he is.
Daniel R. Patterson, Michigan played the NCAA money system and won. Congrats. But will their one-year players go down as Michigan all-time greats? I doubt it. Watch for Dusty May to take an NBA job. Flash in the pan? And bonus, Izzo will use Michigan's win as an effective motivator for another MSU championship in Detroit 2027, and go Pistons.
But that is something we forget. Both those teams are going to be trying to get back there, and it's in Detroit, and that is a big deal. And it was a big deal, back when Michigan State did it last time in 2009. Michigan really wasn't a factor as a program yet. They were just getting back to their first NCAA tournament in a decade. So this will be a different sort of surge for both those programs to try and get there.
Matt, I feel void of any joy. Need the Pistons playoffs to start ASAP so I can get out of the collegiate sports nightmare. Please spin zone this into a positive for MSU. And baked, Michigan won't win another title for 35 years, but will always be in contention as long as Dusty is around.
Yeah. I don't know how to spin zone anything for you, man. They just won a national title. I mean, the one thing I can say is it just shouldn't be relevant to, the fire should be there. Everything Michigan State's trying to do should have been, regardless if UConn had hit every three they took and won the game. It shouldn't make a difference.
Jonathan Smith's burner. Number one, the Natty couldn't have gone to a less deserving school and fan base. The arrogance that oozes from that shithole Ann Arbor is so toxic you could smell it from 127. How does Yaxel still have eligibility? How does that toad-looking motherfucker Ward Manuel still have a job? And two, what would it take for Illich to sell the damn wings already? How many collapses in March and April do we need to see that there's zero desire to win and the wings are ran like a damn boys club? The fish rots from the head. Fire Eiserman and sell the team, pizza boy.
I do wonder what's going to happen this offseason because they were you go back a month, they were like at the top of the standings and they're going to miss the playoffs entirely. They have a huge game this evening, but most likely going to miss the playoffs entirely. It's been a collapse, and I think this may be what finally spurs some change.
Ken Chu, brilliant start to an NHL career by Porter Martone. Most shots on goal by a rookie in the first two games in NHL history and an OT game-winning goal, making the Red Wings another casualty of MSU's early exit from the NCAA hockey tournament.
Yeah, no, and I think the things he said about MSU have been helpful too. I mean, he was a prospect who had a great experience, and the team seems to think he has a great experience, and that's what you want. You want these top guys from the Canadian juniors and elsewhere wanting to come to MSU. We have a few we're going to skip, and we will add Friday just because we have a few time constraints today.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
And so we're going to go down to some. Let's go down to Izzo for Prez down to the end.
Izzo for Prez down at the end. So, here we go. Michigan, what a great podcast. Izzo for Prez. Michigan was a good wire to wire. Championship teams don't go down by 20 and they don't blow late game leads. Congrats to them, and let's get ready for next year.
They were that. I mean, look, there was, that's what we said. This was not some fluke win. This was a great team, and they built it a way that is different than what Michigan State's been doing. And Michigan State has a chance to do it its own way by adding one more piece next year and being in the hunt.
Fart Soup, Michigan is ass. The new era of professional college athletes is ass. The NCAA is ass. Whore. I just wanted to see if Couch censors me. Couch censoring people like the North Korean Polit Bureau is also ass. Give me a Hawaii Spa live read and tell me it's all going to be okay.
The W word made a lot of. I made some exceptions today. I knew people were in a tough place. I knew Dominic was in a struggling place, and so I let it be used.
FCC Couch over here.
Yeah, but definitely I'm going to be out with a little.
What if there's children listening in the car in the minivan?
There you go. Yeah.
There's this overabundance of people with their kids in the car listening to this shit. I mean, come on. Hans Jurgen, number one, cheer up, Spartan fans. Within the 3 generations, no one will remember this basketball season or Graham's columns. 2, Dusty May is a brilliant tactician who belongs in the NBA. And 3, today I'm thankful I deleted Twitter over a year ago. And bonus, we now have 4 months of warm weather and 500 Tigers baseball to look forward to. That's another fucking team. And double bonus, thanks to the scrappy UConn team, the 79 and 2000 Spartans still have done what no go-blow team has ever done. Beat all of their NCAA tournament opponents by 10 or more points. So remember, that shit on your go-blow victory parade full of rental players? No, I'm not gracious.
Hans, well done, sir. That is one thing that they do, I guess, hold over. That UConn, it was funny. I turned it off with about, for a little while, I was on the treadmill going back and forth.
Of course you were.
Yeah, and with about 4 minutes to go, it came back and it got close. And I was like, maybe UConn was scrappy at the end.
Jake Hawkins, number one, as I'm writing this, Michigan is up 48-37. Not to sound like Valeni, but MSU needs to get its shit together because Michigan is going to look as an unstoppable force in college basketball. Can Izzo get MSU to that level? I really honestly don't know with how college athletics is going. And 2, the Tigers are off to quite an underwhelming start, 4-6, including losses to the Twins last night and a pathetic 1-0 loss to the Diamondbacks last Wednesday. I'm well aware that baseball plays 162 games, but still got to admit this is pathetic. Get it together, Tigers.
you got to be around. What you have to be if you're the Tigers is you got to be there when Michigan State fans need you right now. You got to show up and have a couple good days, make everybody feel better. They got the Masters, they got Muskox flannels, but they need the Tigers. They need a good weekend from the Tigers.
And finally, Upper Deck Jerk Guy. We should all stop watching sports to show them who's really in charge. And bonus, podcasting is a dying art form.
That's why we're doing it. We figured, it was newspapers first, and let's do podcasting. Let's pick another dying art form. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for producing our show, as always. The few of you we did not get to, and there's some really good ones left. I apologize. We will include yours with the Groovy Donut Twitter questions on Friday. We want to thank, of course, Muskox Flannels. When you walk outside and it's 23 degrees in April, make sure you have a Muskox flannel on. Or this summer, you're at the beach, backyard, whatever it might be, great in the evening. It is always Muskox season. Go muskox.com. And Peacock for $15 off your flannel purchase. We will be back Friday. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.